as an advertised the Sunday play.
During the spring and summer of 1998, the Almeida Theatre production of The Doctor's DiIemma by Bernard Shaw played to great critical and popular acclaim in London and on tour throughout the United Kingdom. The production, directed by Michael Grandage, featured a distinguished cast, which included Tony Britton, Patsy Byrne, James Callis, Victoria Hamilton, Bernard Horsfall, Martin Jarvis, and Ian McDiarmid. It was recorded specially for BBC Radio 3 during the course of its national tour. We present the Almeida Theatre production of The Doctor's DiIemma by Bernard Shaw.
Bothering me to see the doctor.
Well, she can't see the doctor. Look here, what's the use of telling you the doctor can't take any new patients when the moment a knock comes to the door and you bounce to ask whether he can see somebody?
Who asked you whether he can see somebody?
You did.
I said there's a lady bothering me to see the doctor. That isn't asking, it's telling.
Well, is the lady bothering you a reason for you to come bothering me when I'm busy?
Have you seen the papers?
No.
Not seen the birthday honours?
What the
No,
dickens?
no, ducky.
What do you suppose I care about the birthday honours? Get out of this with your chattering. Dr. Ridgeon will be down before I have these letters ready. Get out.
Dr. Ridgeon won't never come down any more, young man.
What?
He's been made a knight. Yeah, mind you don't go Dr. Ridgeoning him in them letters. Sir Colenso Ridgeon is to be his name now.
I'm jolly glad.
I never was so taken aback. I always thought his great discoveries was fudge. Let alone the mess of 'em, with his drops of blood and his tubes full of Maltese fever and the like. Oh, now he'll have a real laugh at me.
And it'll serve you right. It was just like your cheek to talk to him about science.
Oh, I don't think much of science. And neither will you when you've lived with it as long as I have. What's on my mind is answering the door. Oh, Sir Patrick Curran's been here already, and their first congratulations. Hadn't time to come up on his way to the hospital, was determined to be first. Coming back, he said. All the rest will be here too. The knuckle will be going all day. Yeah, well, I'm afraid I was the doctor who want a footman, like all the rest. Now he's Sir Colenso. Mind, don't you go putting him up to it, ducky, for he'll never have any comfort with anyone but me to answer the door. I know who to let in and who to keep out. That reminds me of the poor lady. I think he ought to see her. And she's just the kind to put him in a good temper.
I tell you, he can't see anybody. Now, do go away, Emmy. How can I work with you dusting all over me like this?
Oh, I'm not hindering you working, if you call writing letters working. There goes the bell. That's more congratulations. Have you finished your 2 eggs, Sonny?
Yes.
There's my ducky diamond. Now, keep yourself tidy.
Oh, get off.
And don't go messing about and dirtying your hands. The people are coming to congratulate you. Yeah.
Have you seen the papers, Redpenny? You'll have to alter the name in the letters if you haven't.
Emmy's just told me. I'm awfully glad.
Enough, young man, enough. You will soon get accustomed to it.
Well, they ought to have done it years ago.
They would have. Only they couldn't stand Emmy opening the door, I dare say.
Dr. Shoemaker.
Do you remember me? Schutzmacher. University College School and Belsize Avenue, loony Schutzmacher, you know?
What, loony? My man, I thought you were dead years ago.
Oh. Sit down.
Where have you been these 30 years?
In general practice, until a few months ago. I've retired.
Well done, loony. I wish I could afford to retire. Was your practice in London?
No.
Fashionable coast practice, I suppose.
How could I afford to buy a fashionable practice? I hadn't the rap. I set up in a manufacturing town in the Midlands in a little surgery at 10 shillings a week.
And made your fortune?
Well, I'm pretty comfortable. I have a place in Hertfordshire besides our flat in town. If you ever want a quiet Saturday to Monday, I'll take you down in my motor at an hour's notice.
Just rolling in money. I wish you rich GPs would teach me how to make some. What's the secret of it?
Well, in my case, the secret was simple enough, though I suppose I should have got into trouble if it had attracted any notice, and I'm afraid you will think it rather infra dig.
Oh, I have an open mind. What was the secret?
Well, the secret was just 2 words.
Not consultation free, was it?
No, really.
Of course not. I was only joking.
My 2 words were simply cure guaranteed.
Cure guaranteed?
Guaranteed. After all, that's what everybody wants from a doctor, isn't it?
My dear Looney, it was an inspiration. Was it on the brass plate?
There was no brass plate. It was a shop window. Red, you know, with black lettering. Dr. Leo Schutzmacher, LRCP, MRCS, advice in medicine, 6pence, cure guaranteed.
And the guarantee proved sound, 9 times out of 10, eh?
Oh, much oftener than that. You see, most people get well all right if they're careful and you give them a little sensible advice. You don't mind my calling, do you? Just to congratulate you.
Delighted, my dear Looney. Come to lunch. Saturday, next week. Bring your motor. Take me down to Hartford.
I will. We shall be delighted. Thank you. Goodbye.
Old Paddy Cullen was here before you were up to be the first to congratulate you.
Indeed. Who taught you to speak of Sir Patrick Cullen as old Paddy Cullen, you young ruffian?
Well, you never call him anything else.
Now that I'm Sir Colenso, next thing you chaps will be calling me old Collie Ridgeon.
Oh, we do at St. Anne's.
And that's what makes the medical student the most disgusting figure in modern civilization. No veneration, no manners, no...
Sir Patrick Cullen.
Well, young chap. Is your hat too small for you, eh?
Much too small. I owe it all to you.
Oh, blarney, my boy. Thank you all the same. I've come to talk to you a bit. Young man, get out.
Certainly, Sir Patrick.
Thank you. There's a good chap. They all put up with me, these young lads, because I'm an old man, a real old man. Not like you. You're only beginning to give yourself the airs of age. But the world's growing very interesting to me now, Collie. Modern science is a wonderful thing. Look at your great discovery. Look at all the great discoveries. Where are they leading to? Why, right back to my poor dear old father's ideas and discoveries. He's been dead now over 40 years.
Well, there's nothing like progress, is there?
No, don't misunderstand me, my boy. I'm not belittling your discovery. Most discoveries are made regularly every 15 years, and it's fully 150 years since yours was made last. You brought us back to inoculation.
I know nothing about smallpox. My line is tuberculosis. But, of course, the principle of all vaccines is the same.
Tuberculosis. So, you found out how to cure consumption, eh?
I believe so.
I've known over 30 men that found out how to cure consumption, Collie. Why do people go on dying of it? Devilment, I suppose.
You old cynic. You don't believe a bit in my discovery.
No, I don't go quite so far as that, Collie. But still, you remember Jane Marsh.
Jane Marsh? No.
You don't?
No.
You mean to tell me you don't remember the woman with a tuberculous ulcer on her arm?
Oh, your washerwoman's daughter. Was her name Jane Marsh? I forgot.
Perhaps you've forgotten also that you undertook to cure her with Koch's tuberculin.
And instead of curing her, it rotted her arm right off. Yes, I remember. Poor Jane. However, she makes a good living out of that arm now by showing it at medical lectures.
Still, that wasn't quite what you intended, was it?
I took my chance of it.
Jane did, you mean?
Well, it's always a patient who has to take a chance when an experiment is necessary, and we can find out nothing without experiment.
And what did you find out from Jane's case?
I found out that the inoculation that ought to cure sometimes kills.
Oh, I could have told you that. I've tried these modern inoculations a bit myself. I've killed people with them, and I've cured people with them. But I gave them up because I never could tell which I was going to do.
Read this next time you've an hour to spare, and you'll find out why.
Oh, bother your pamphlets. What's the practice of it? Opsonin? What the devil's opsonin?
Opsonin is what you butter the disease germs with to make your white blood corpuscles eat them.
That's not new. I've heard this notion that the white corpuscles... What is it that what's-his-name, Metchnikov, calls them?
Phagocytes.
Phagocytes, yes. Well, I heard this theory that the phagocytes eat up the disease germs years ago, long before you came into fashion. Besides, they don't always eat them.
They do when you butter them with opsonin.
Gammon.
No, it's not gammon. What it amounts to in practice is this. The phagocytes won't eat the microbes unless the microbes are nicely buttered for them. Now, the patient manufactures the butter for himself, all right, but my discovery is that the manufacture of that butter, which I call opsonin, goes on in the system by ups and downs, nature always being rhythmic. You know, what the inoculation does is to stimulate the ups or downs, as the case may be. If we had inoculated Jane Marsh when her butter factory was in the upgrade, we should have cured her arm, but we got into the downgrade and lost her arm for her. I call the upgrade the positive phase and the downgrade the negative phase. Everything depends on inoculating at the right moment. Inoculate when the patient is in the negative phase and you kill. Inoculate when the patient is in the positive phase and you cure.
And pray, how are you to know whether the patient's in the positive phase or the negative phase?
Send a drop of the patient's blood to the laboratory at St. Anne's, and in 15 minutes I'll give you his opsonin index in figures. My tuberculosis patients don't die now.
And mine do when my inoculation catches them in the negative phase, as you call it, eh?
Precisely. To inject a vaccine into a patient without first testing his opsonin is as near murder as a respectable practitioner can get. If I wanted to kill a man, I should kill him that way.
Will you see a lady that wants her husband's lungs cured?
No! Haven't I told you I've seen nobody? I live in a state of siege ever since it's got around. I'm a magician who can cure consumption with a drop of serum. Don't come to me again about people who have no appointments.
Well, I'll tell her to wait a bit.
You'll tell her I can't see her and send her away?
Well, will you see Mr. Cutler Walpole? He don't want a cure. He only wants to congratulate you.
Of course. Show him up. Stop. I want 2 more minutes with you, by ourselves. Emmy, ask Mr. Walpole to wait just 2 more minutes while I finish a consultation.
Oh, he'll wait all right. He's talking to the poor lady.
Well, what is it?
Don't laugh at me. I want your advice.
Professional advice?
Yes. There's something the matter with me. I don't know what it is.
Neither do I. You've been sounded, I suppose?
Yes, of course. Nothing wrong with the organs. Well, nothing special, anyhow. But I have this curious aching. I don't know where it is. I can't localize it. Sometimes I think it's my heart. Sometimes I think it's my spine. Well, it doesn't exactly hurt me, but it unsettles me completely. I feel something's going to happen. And there are other symptoms. Scraps of tunes keep coming into my head, which seem to be very pretty, though they're really quite commonplace.
Do you hear voices?
No.
I'm glad of that. When my patients tell me that they hear voices, I lock them up.
You think I'm mad? Well, that's the suspicion that's come across me once or twice. Look, tell me the truth. I can bear it.
There's nothing wrong with your spine, and there's nothing wrong with your heart. But there's something wrong with your common sense. You're not going to die, but you may be going to make a fool of yourself, so be careful.
I see you don't believe in my discovery. Well, sometimes I don't believe in it myself. Thank you all the same. Shall I ring for Walpole?
Oh, yes, have him up. He's a clever operator, is Walpole, though he's only one of your chloroform surgeons.
Emmy, show Mr. Walpole up.
Well, he's talking to the lady.
Did I not tell you?
Oh, yes, I knew those Walpoles well 15 years ago. The father used to snip off the ends of people's uvulas for 50 guineas and paint throats with caustic every day for a year at 2 guineas a time. His brother-in-law extirpated tonsils for 200 guineas until he took up women's cases at double the fees. Cutler himself worked hard at anatomy to find something fresh to operate on, and at last he got hold of something he calls the nuciform sac, yeah, which he's made quite the fashion. People pay him 500 guineas to cut it out. They might as well get their hair cut for all the difference it makes. But I suppose they feel important afterwards. You can't go out to dinner now without your neighbour bragging to you of some useless operation or other.
Mr. Cutler Walpole.
My dear Ridgeon, best wishes, heartiest congratulations. You deserve it.
Thank you, Walpole.
As a man, mind you, you deserve it as a man. The opsonin is simple, Rod, as any capable surgeon can tell you. But we're all delighted to see your personal qualities officially recognized. Sir Patrick, how are you? I sent you a paper lately about a little thing I invented. A new saw for shoulder blades.
Yes, I got it. It's a good saw, a useful, handy instrument.
I knew you'd see its points.
Yes, I remember that saw 65 years ago.
What?
It was called a cabinet maker's jimmy then.
Get out! Nonsense! Cabinet maker be...
Never mind him, Walpole. He's jealous.
Yeah, by the way, I hope I'm not disturbing you two in anything private.
No, sit down. I was only consulting him. I'm rather out of sorts. Overwork, I suppose.
I know what's the matter with you. I can see it in your complexion. I can feel it in the grip of your hand.
What is it?
Blood poisoning.
Blood poisoning? Impossible.
I tell you, blood poisoning. 95% of the human race suffer from chronic blood poisoning and die of it. It's as simple as ABC. Your nuciform sac is full of decaying matter, undigested food, and waste products, rank torments. Now, you take my advice, Ridgeon. Let me cut it out for you. You'll be another man afterwards.
Don't you like him as he is?
No, I don't. I don't like any man who hasn't a healthy circulation. I tell you this, in an intelligently governed country, people wouldn't be allowed to go about with nuciform sacs, making themselves centres of infection. The operation ought to be compulsory. It's 10 times more important than vaccination.
Have you had your sac removed, may I ask?
I haven't got one. Look at me. I've no symptoms. I'm as sound as a bell. About 5% of the population haven't got any, and I'm one of the 5%. I'll give you an instance. You know Mrs. Jack Fulljam? The smart Mrs. Fulljam?
Yes.
I operated at Easter on her sister-in-law, Lady Goran, and found she had the biggest sack I ever saw. It held about 2 ounces. Well, Mrs. Fulljam had the right spirit, the genuine hygienic instinct. She couldn't stand her sister-in-law being a clean, sound woman, and she is simply a whited sepulchre. So she insisted on my operating on her, too. And by George, sir, she hadn't any sack at all.
Oh.
Not a trace, not a rudiment. Well, I'm so taken aback, so interested that I forgot to take the sponges out and was stitching them up inside her when the nurse missed them. Somehow I'd been sure she'd have an exceptionally large one.
Sir Ralph Bloomfield Bonington.
Where is he?
Oh, drat him, I thought he was following me. He stayed down to talk to that lady.
I told you to tell
By the way, Ridgeon, that reminds me, I've been talking to the poor girl. It's her husband. She thinks it's a case of consumption, the usual wrong diagnosis. These damn general practitioners ought never to be allowed to touch a patient except under the orders of a consultant. She's been describing his symptoms to me, and the case is as plain as a pikestaff. Bad blood poisoning. Now, she's poor. She can't afford to have him operated on. Well, you send him to me. I'll do him for nothing. I'll put him straight and feed him up and make her happy. I like making people happy.
Here he is.
Sir Colenso. Welcome to the Order of Knighthood.
Thank you, baby. Well, Sir Patrick, and how are we today?
A little chilly, a little stiff, but hale, and still the cleverest of us all.
What, Walpole, the absent-minded beggar, eh?
What does that mean?
Have you forgotten the lovely opera singer I sent you to have that growth taken off her vocal cords?
Great heavens, man, you don't mean to say you sent her for a throat operation?
You removed her nuciform sac. Well. Force of habit. Force of habit. Never mind. She got back her voice after it and thinks you the greatest surgeon alive. And so you are.
And how is a certain distinguished family getting on under your care, Sir Ralph?
Our friend Ridgeon will be gratified to hear that I have tried his opson in treatment on little Prince Henry with complete success.
But how?
I suspected typhoid. The head gardener's boy had it. So I just called in at St. Anne's one day and got a tube of your very excellent serum. You were out, unfortunately.
Well, I hope they explained to you carefully.
Lord bless you, my dear fellow, I didn't need any explanations. I'd left my wife in the carriage at the door, and I'd no time to be told my business by your young chaps. I know all about it. I've handled these antitoxins ever since they first came out.
But they're not antitoxins, and they're dangerous unless you use them at the right time.
Of course they are. Everything is dangerous unless you take it at the right time. An apple at breakfast does you good. An apple at bedtime upsets you for a week. There are only 2 rules for antitoxins. First, don't be afraid of them. Second, inject them 3 times a day, a quarter of an hour before meals.
Great heavens, B.B. No.
Oh, yes, Collie. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, you know. It was an immense success. It acted like magic on the little prince. Up went his temperature. Off to bed I packed him. And in a week he was all right again and absolutely immune from typhoid for the rest of his life. The family were very nice about it. Their gratitude was quite touching. But I said they owed it all to you, Ridgeon. And I'm glad to think that your knighthood is the result.
I'm deeply obliged to you.
Oh, not at all. Your own merit. Oh, come, don't give way.
It's nothing. I was a little giddy just now. Overwork, I suppose.
Blood poisoning.
Overwork. There's no such thing. I do the work of 10 men. Am I giddy? No. If you're not well, you have a disease. It may be a slight one, but it's a disease. And what is a disease? The lodgment in the system of a pathogenic germ and the multiplication of that germ. And what is the remedy? A very simple one. Find the germ and kill it.
Dr. Blenkinsop.
How are you, Blenkinsop? I've come to offer my humble congratulations. Oh, dear. All the great guns are before me.
How did do, Blenkinsop? How did do?
It's the first time I've had that honour. In my poor little practice, there are no chances of meeting you great men. I know nobody but the St. Anne's men of my own day. And so you're Sir Colenso. How does it feel?
Foolish. At first. Don't take any notice of it.
I'm ashamed to say I haven't a notion what your great discovery is, but I congratulate you all the same for the sake of old times.
But my dear Blenkinsop, you used to be very keen on science.
Oh, I used to be a lot of things. I used to have 2 or 3 decent suits of clothes and flannels to go up the river on Sundays. Well, look at me now. This is my best, and it must last till Christmas. Well, what can I do? I've never opened a book since I was qualified 30 years ago. I've forgotten all my science. What's the use of my pretending I haven't? But I have great experience, clinical experience. And bedside experience is the main thing, isn't it?
No doubt, always provided, mind you, that you have a sound scientific theory to correlate your observations. Mere experience by itself is nothing. If I take my dog to the bedside with me, he sees what I see, but he learns nothing from it. Why? Because he's not a scientific dog.
It amuses me to hear you physicians and general practitioners talking about clinical experience. What do you see at the bedside but the outside of the patient? Well, it isn't his outside that's wrong, except perhaps in skin cases. What you want is a daily familiarity with people's insides, and that you can only get at the operating table. No, I know what I'm talking about.
It's easy for you gentlemen to talk, but what would you say if you had my practice? Except for the workmen's clubs, my patients are all clerks and shopmen. They daren't be ill. They can't afford it. And when they break down, what can I do for them? You can send your people to Samoritz or to Egypt, or recommend horse exercise, or motoring, or champagne jelly, or complete change and rest for 6 months. I might as well order my people a slice of the moon. And the worst of it is, I'm too poor to keep well myself on the cooking I have to put up with. I have such a wretched digestion, and I look it. How am I to inspire confidence?
Don't, Blenkinsop, it's too painful. The most tragic thing in the world is a sick doctor.
Yes, by George. It's like a bald-headed man trying to sell a hair restorer. Thank God I'm a surgeon.
I am never sick. I never had a day's illness in my life. It's what enables me to sympathize with my patients.
What? You're never ill?
No.
Ah, that's interesting. I believe you have no nuciform sac. If you ever do feel at all queer, I should very much like to have a look.
Thank you very much, my dear fellow, but I'm really rather busy just now.
I was just telling them before you came, Blenkinsop, I've rather worked myself out of sorts.
Well, it seems presumptuous of me to offer a prescription to a great man like you, but still, I have great experience. And if I might recommend a pound of ripe green gages every day, half an hour before lunch, I'm sure you'd find a benefit. They're very cheap.
What do you say to that, BB?
Very sensible, my dear Blenkinsop, very sensible indeed. I'm delighted to see that you disapprove of drugs. Do I hear from the fireside armchair the bow-wow of the old school defending its drugs? Oh, Paddy, believe me, the world would be healthier if every chemist shop in England were demolished. Look at the papers, full of scandalous advertisements for patent medicines. A huge commercial system of quackery and poison. Drugs can only repress symptoms. They cannot eradicate disease. The true remedy for all diseases is nature's remedy. Nature has provided in the white corpuscles, as you call them, the phagocytes, as we call them, a natural means of destroying and devouring all disease germs. Stimulate the phagocytes. Drugs are a delusion.
As I sit here, I seem to hear my poor old father talking again.
Your father? But Lord bless my soul, Paddy, your father must have been an older man than you.
Word for word, almost. He said what you say. No more drugs, nothing but inoculation. In the privacy of our family circle, sir, my father used to declare his belief that smallpox inoculation was good, not only for smallpox, but for all fevers.
It stimulated the phagocytes, and the phagocytes did the rest. That is why Sir Patrick's father found that inoculation cured all fevers. It stimulated the phagocytes.
Mr. Walpole, your motor's come for you, and it's Friday Sir Patrick's horses, so come along quick.
Goodbye, Ridgeon.
Goodbye, and many thanks.
You take my point.
He can't wait, Sir Rafe. The carriage will be to the area if he don't come.
I'm coming. There's nothing in your point. Phagocytosis is pure rot. The cases are all blood poisoning, and the knife is the real remedy. Bye-bye, Sir Paddy. Happy to have met you, Mr. Blenkinsop. Now, Emily, come along.
Walpole has no intellect. A mere surgeon. Wonderful operator. But after all, what is operating? Only manual labour. Brain. Brain remains master of the situation. Well, I must be toddling. Goodbye, Paddy. Goodbye, dear old fellow. Goodbye, my dear Blenkinsop. Goodbye. Goodbye, Ridgeon. And don't fret about your health. You know what to do. If your liver is a little sluggish, a little mercury never does any harm. And if you're restless, try bromide. If that doesn't answer, a stimulant, you know, a little phosphorus and strychnine. And if you can't sleep, Trional.
But no drugs, Collie, remember that.
Certainly not. Quite right, Sir Patrick. As temporary expedients, of course, but as treatments, no. Keep away from the chemist shop, my dear Ridgeon, whatever you do.
I will, and thank you for the knighthood.
Oh,
goodbye.
Oh, by the way, who is your patient?
Who?
Downstairs. Tuberculous husband. Charming.
Is she still there?
Yeah.
Come on, Sir Rafe. Your wife's waiting in the carriage.
What? Oh. Goodbye.
Emmy, is that woman there still? If so, tell her once and for all I can't and won't see her.
Oh, she ain't in a hurry. She doesn't mind how long she waits.
I must be off too. Every half hour I spend away from my work costs me 18 pence. Goodbye, Sir Patrick.
Goodbye.
Come to lunch one day this week.
I can't afford it, dear boy, and it will put me off my own food for a week. Thank you all the same.
Is there nothing I can do for you?
Well, if you have an old frock coat to spare, you see what would be an old one for you would be a new one for me. So remember me next time you turn out your wardrobe. Goodbye.
Poor chap. So, that's why they made me a knight. And that's the medical profession.
And a very good profession too, my lad. When you know as much as I know about the ignorance and superstition of the patients, you'll wonder that we're half as good as we are.
We're not a profession, we're a conspiracy.
All professions are conspiracies against the laity, and we can't all be geniuses like you. Every fool can get ill, but every fool can't be a good doctor, and there are not enough good ones to go round. And for all you know, Bloomfield Bonington kills less people than you do.
Very likely. But he really ought to know the difference between a vaccine and an antitoxin. Stimulate the phagocytes. The vaccine doesn't affect the phagocytes at all. He's all wrong. He's hopelessly, dangerously wrong. Yeah. To put a tube of serum in his hands is murder. Simple murder.
Now, Sir Patrick, how long more are you going to leave them horses standing in the draught?
What's that to you, you old catamaran?
Come now, none of your temper to me. And it's time for Collie to get to his work.
Behave yourself, Emmy. Get out.
But I learnt how to behave myself before I learned you to do it. I know what doctors are, sitting talking together about themselves when they ought to be with their poor patients. And I know what horses are, Sir Patrick. I was brought up in the country. Now be good and come along.
Very well. Bye, Collie.
Bye.
You are an ugly old devil and no mistake.
But you're no beauty yourself. Oh, they've no manners. They think they can say what they like to me, and you set them on, you do. Yeah, well, I'll teach them their places. Now then, are you going to see that poor thing, or are you not?
I tell you for the 50th time, I won't see anybody. Send her away.
Oh, I'm tired of being told to send her away. What good will that do her?
Must I get angry with you, Emmy?
Oh, come now. Just see her for a minute to please me, there's a good boy. She's given me £5,000. Oh. And she thinks it's life and death to her husband for her to see you.
Values her husband's life at £5,000.
Well, that's all she can afford, poor lamb. Some of them others think nothing of half a sovereign just to talk about themselves to you, the sluts. Besides, she'll put you in a good temper for the day because it's a good deed to see her and because she's the sort that gets round you.
Oh, she hasn't done so badly. For £5,000, she's had a consultation with Sir Rafe Bloomfield Bonington and Cutler Walpole. That's 6 guineas worth to start with. I dare say she consulted Blenkinsop, too. That's another 18 pence.
Then you'll see her for me, won't you?
Oh, send her up and be hanged! Red Penny!
What is it?
There's a patient coming up. If she's not gone in 5 minutes, come in with an urgent call from the hospital for me.
Righto.
Mrs. Doobidad.
Doctor, I know
Wait. Before you begin, I must tell you at once I can do nothing for you. My hands are full. I sent you that message by my old servant. You would not take that answer.
How could I?
You bribed her.
I gave her...
Doesn't matter. She coaxed me to see you. Well, you'll have to hear it from me now that with all the goodwill in the world, I cannot undertake another case.
Doctor, you must save my husband. You must. When I explain to you, you will see that you must. It is not an ordinary case. Not like any other case. He's not like anybody else in the world. Believe me, he's not. I can prove it to you. I bought some things to show you. And you can save him. The papers say you can.
What's the matter, tuberculosis?
Yes, his left lung.
Yes, you needn't tell me about that.
You can cure him if only you will. It is true that you can, isn't it? Oh, tell me, please.
You are going to be quiet and self-possessed, aren't you?
Yes? I beg your pardon. I know, I shouldn't. Oh, please say that you can, and then I shall be all right.
I'm not a cure monger. If it's cures you want, you must go to the people who sell them. But I have at the hospital 10 tuberculosis patients whose lives I believe I can save.
Thank God.
Wait a moment. The treatment is a new one. It takes time and means and skill, and there is not enough for another case. The 10 cases are already chosen cases. You understand what I mean by chosen?
Chosen? No, I can't understand.
Well, you must understand. You've got to understand and to face it. In every single one of these cases, I have had to consider not only whether the man could be saved, but whether he was worth saving. I've no doubt your case is a hard one. I can see the tears in your eyes. I know you have a torrent of entreaties waiting for me the minute I stop speaking, but it is no use. You must go to another doctor.
But can you give me the name of another doctor who understands your secret?
I have no secret. I'm not a quack.
I beg your pardon. I didn't mean to say anything wrong. I don't know how to talk to you. Oh, pray don't be offended.
No, there, never mind. Anyway, I'm talking nonsense. Dare say I am a quack. A quack with a qualification. But my discovery is not patented.
Then can any doctor cure my husband? Why don't they do it? I've seen so many. I've spent so much. If only you'd give me the name of another doctor.
Every man in this street is a doctor, but outside myself and the handful of men I'm training at St. Anne's, there is no one as yet who has mastered the Opsonin treatment. And we're full up. I'm very sorry. That's all I can say. Good morning.
Doctor, look at these. You understand drawings. You have good ones in your waiting room. Look at them. They are his work.
It's no use my looking. Hello? Yes, this is the real thing. Yes, these are very clever. They're unfinished, aren't they?
He gets tired so soon. But you see, don't you, what a genius he is. You see that he's worth saving. Oh, Doctor, I married him just to help him to begin. I had money enough to tide him over the hard years at the beginning, to enable him to follow his inspiration until his genius was recognized. And I was useful to him as a model. His drawings of me sold quite quickly.
Have you got one?
Only this one. It was the first.
That's a wonderful drawing. Why is it called Jennifer?
My name is Jennifer.
That's a strange name.
Not in Cornwall. I'm Cornish. It's only what you call Guinevere.
Guinevere? Jennifer. Yes, it really is. A wonderful drawing. Excuse me, may I ask, is it for sale? I'll buy it.
Oh, take it. It's my own. He gave it to me. Take it. Take them all. Take everything. Ask anything, but save him. You can. You will. You must.
They've just telephoned from the hospital that you're to come instantly. A patient on the point of death.
Oh, nonsense. Get out.
But the patient is dying.
Can't you see I'm engaged? Be off.
Doctor, one instant only before you go.
Sit down. It's nothing.
The patient, he said he was dying.
Oh, he's dead by this time. Never mind. Sit down.
Oh, none of you care. You see people die every day.
Oh, nonsense. It's nothing. I told him to come in and say that. I thought I should want to get rid of you.
Oh.
Don't look so bewildered. There's nobody dying.
My husband is.
Ah, yes. I forgot your husband. Mrs. Dubedat, you're asking me to do a very serious thing.
I am asking you to save the life of a great man.
You're asking me to kill another man in his place. For as surely as I undertake another case, I shall have to hand back one of the old ones to the ordinary treatment. Well, I don't shrink from that. I've done it before. And I'll do it again if you can convince me that his life is more important than the worst life I am now saving. But you'll have to convince me first.
He made those drawings, and they are not the best. Nothing like the best. Only I did not bring the really best. So few people like them. He's 23. His whole life is before him. Won't you let me bring him to you? Won't you speak to him? Won't you see for yourself?
Is he well enough to come to a dinner at the Star and Garter in Richmond?
Yes? Why?
I've invited all my old friends to a dinner to celebrate my knighthood. You've seen about it in the papers.
Yes, that was how I found out about you.
It will be a doctor's dinner. It was to have been a bachelor's dinner. I'm a bachelor. Now, if you will entertain for me and bring your husband, he will meet me, and he will meet several eminent members of the profession. Sir Patrick Cullen, Sir Ralph Bloomfield Bonington, Cutler Walpole, and others. I will put his case to them, and your husband will have to stand or fall by what we think of him. Will you come?
Yes, of course I will come. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And may I bring some of his drawings, the really good ones?
Oh, yes. I will let you know the date in the course of tomorrow. Leave me your address.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, may I... Is that... Should I...
What's the matter?
Your fee for this consultation.
Oh, forget that. Shall we say a beautiful drawing of his favorite model for the whole treatment, including the cure?
You are very generous. Thank you. I know you will cure him. Goodbye.
I will. Goodbye. Oh, by the way, you know, don't you, that tuberculosis is catching. You take every precaution, I hope.
I'm not likely to forget it. They treat us like lepers at the hotels.
Well, dearie, have you got round him?
Yes. Attend to the door and hold your tongue.
That's a good boy.
Consultation free. Cure guaranteed.
Louis will be here presently. He's showing Dr. Blenkinsop how to work the telephone. Oh, I am so sorry we have to go. It seems such a shame this beautiful night, and we've enjoyed ourselves so much.
Well, I didn't suppose another half hour would do Mr. Dubedat a bit of harm.
Calm, Collie, calm. You take your man home, Mrs. Dubedat. Get him to bed before 11.
Yes, bed before 11. Quite right. Sorry to lose you, dear lady, but Sir Patrick's orders are the laws of tire and silence.
Let me take you home in my motor.
No, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Walpole! Your motor will take Mr. and Mrs. Dubedat to the station, and quite far enough, too, for an open carriage at night.
Oh, I'm sure the train is best.
Well, Mrs. Dubedat, we've had a most enjoyable evening.
Most enjoyable.
Charming. Unforgettable.
What did you think of Louis? Or am I wrong to ask?
Wrong? Why, we're all charmed with him.
Delighted.
Most happy to have met him. A privilege. A real privilege.
Sir Patrick, are you uneasy about him?
Oh, I admire his drawings greatly, ma'am.
Yes, but I
You shall go away quite happy. He's worth saving. He must and shall be saved.
Certainly.
There's no real difficulty if only you know what to do.
Oh, how can I ever thank you? From this night I can begin to be happy at last. You don't know what I feel.
Oh, my dear lady, come. Come.
Don't mind us. Have a good cry.
Oh, no, don't cry. Your husband had better not know we've been talking about him.
Oh, no, of course not. Oh, please don't mind me. What a glorious thing it must be to be a doctor. No, don't laugh. You don't know what you've done for me. I never knew until now how deadly afraid I was. How I'd come to dread the worst. I never dared let myself know. But now the relief has come. Oh, now I know.
Now, Ginny Gwynny, the motor has come round.
Why do you let him spoil your beautiful name like that, Mrs. Dubedat?
On grand occasions I am, Jennifer.
You are a bachelor. You do not understand these things, Ridgeon. Look at me. I also have two names. In moments of domestic worry, I am simple Rafe. When the sun shines in the home, I am Beedle Deedle Dumpkins. Such is married life. Mr. Dubedat, would you do me a great favour before you go? Would you sign your name to this menu card under the sketch you've made of me?
Yes, and mine too, if you will be so good.
Certainly.
Oh, won't you sign Dr. Schutzmacher's
Yeah.
for him, Louis?
I don't think Dr. Schutzmacher is pleased with his portrait. I'll tear it up.
Oh, no, don't do that if Looney doesn't want it. I do.
I will sign it for you with pleasure. I've just been making a little note of the river tonight. It'll work into something good. I think I shall call it the Silver Danube.
Ah, charming, charming.
Very sweet. You're a nailer at pasta.
Come, Mr. Dubedat, you've had enough of the night air. Take him home.
Yes, come, Louis.
Never fear, never mind. I'll make that cough all right.
We will stimulate the phagocytes. Good night, Mrs. Dubedat. Good night. Good night.
If the phagocytes fail, come to me. I'll put you right.
Thank you. Good night, Sir Patrick. Good night. Happy to have met you.
Right.
Good night, Sir Patrick.
Cover yourself well up. Don't think your lungs are made of iron, because they're better than his. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Nothing hurts me. Good night.
Good night.
Delightful couple. Oh, charming woman. Gifted lad, remarkable talent, graceful outlines. Perfect evening, great success. Interesting case. Glorious night. Exquisite scenery. Capital dinner. Stimulating conversation. Restful outing. Good wine. Happy ending. Touching gratitude. A lucky Ridgeon.
What's that? Were you calling me, baby?
No. Just congratulating on your most successful evening. Enchanting woman. Thorough breeding, gentle nature.
So sorry to have left you like this, Ridgeon, but it was a telephone message from the police. They found half a milkman at our level crossing with a prescription of mine in its pocket. Where's Mr. Dubedat?
Gone.
Gone?
Just this moment.
Perhaps I could overtake him.
He's in the motor, man. Miles off. You can't. They're no use.
They're really nice people. I confess I was afraid the husband would turn out to be the most appalling bounder. But he's almost as charming in his way as she is in hers. And there's no mistake about his being a genius. It's something to have a case really worth saving. Someone else will have to go, but at all events it'll be easy to find a worse man.
How do you know?
Oh, come on now, Sir Paddy. No growling. Have something more to drink.
No, thank you.
Do you see anything wrong with Dubedat, BB?
Oh, no, charming young fellow. Besides, after all, what could be wrong with him? Look at him. What could be wrong with him?
There are two things that can be wrong with any man. One of them is a check, the other is a woman. Until you know that a man is sound on these 2 points, you know nothing about him.
Oh, cynic, cynic.
He's all right as to the cheque. For a while, at all events. He talked to me quite frankly before dinner as to the pressure of money difficulties on an artist. He says he has no vices and is very economical, but that there's one extravagance he can't afford and yet can't resist, and that is dressing his wife prettily. So I said, bang club out, let me lend you £20 and pay me when your ship comes home. He was really very nice about it. He took it like a man. And it was a pleasure to see how happy it made him put up.
When was this, may I ask?
When I joined you that time down by the river.
But, my dear Walpole, he had just borrowed £10 from me.
What?
Well, it was really hardly borrowing, for he said heaven only knew when he could pay me. Well, I couldn't refuse. It seems that Mrs. Dubedat has taken a sort of fancy to me.
No, it was to me.
No, certainly not. No, your name was never mentioned between us. He's so wrapped up in his work that he has to leave her a great deal alone. And poor, innocent young fellow, he's no idea of my position or how busy I am. But he actually asked if I would call occasionally, talk to her.
Exactly what he said to me.
Oh, pooh. Oh, pooh. I mean, well, really, I must say.
Look here, Ridgeon, this is beginning to look serious.
Well, leg it on. Did you catch him?
No. Excuse my running away like that.
Anything the matter?
Oh, no. A trifle. Something ridiculous. Can't be helped. Never mind.
Was it anything about Dubedat?
Oh, I ought to keep it to myself, I know. I can't tell you, Richard, how ashamed I am of dragging my miserable poverty to your dinner after all your kindness. It's not that you won't ask me again, but it's so humiliating. And I did so look forward to one evening in my dress clothes. Well, they're still presentable, you see, with all my troubles left behind, just like old times.
But what has happened?
Oh, nothing. It's too ridiculous. I just scraped up 4 shillings for this little outing, and it cost me 1 and 4pence to get here. Well, Dubedat asked me to lend him ½ to tip the chambermaid of the room his wife left her wraps in, and for the cloakroom. He said he only wanted it for 5 minutes, as she had his purse. So, of course, I lent it to him. And he's forgotten to pay me. I've just 2pence to get back.
Oh, never mind about that.
No, I know what you're going to say, but I won't take it. I've never borrowed a penny, and I never will. I've nothing left of my friends, and I won't sell them. If none of you were to be able to meet me without being afraid that my civility was leading up to the loan of 5 shillings, there will be an end of everything for me. I'll take your old clothes, Collie, sooner than disgrace you by talking to you in the street in my own, but I won't borrow money. I'll train it as far as the 2pence will take me, and I'll tramp the rest.
You'll do the whole distance in my motor. Did he get anything out of you, Mr. Schutzmacher?
No.
Ah, you didn't appreciate his drawing, I think.
Oh, yes, I did. I should have liked very much to have kept the sketch and got it autographed.
But why didn't you?
Well, the fact is, when I joined Dubedat after his conversation with Mr. Walpole, he said that the Jews were the only people who knew anything about art, and that though he had to put up with your Philistine twaddle, as he called it, it was what I said about the drawings that really pleased him. He also said that his wife was greatly struck with my knowledge, and that she always admired Jews. Then he asked me to advance him £50 on the security of the drawings.
What?
I thought I couldn't lend money to a stranger like that.
I envy you your power to say no, Mr. Schutzmacher. Of course, I knew I oughtn't to lend money to a young fellow like that, but I hadn't really the nerve to refuse. Well, I couldn't, really, you know, could I?
I don't understand that. I felt that I couldn't very well lend it.
What did he say?
Oh, he made a very uncalled-for remark about the Jews not understanding the feelings of a gentleman. I must say, you Gentiles are very hard to please. You say we are no gentlemen when we lend money, and when we refuse to lend it, you say just the same. I didn't mean to behave badly. As I told him, I might have lent it to him if he had been a Jew himself.
And what did he say to that?
Oh, he began trying to persuade me that he was one of the chosen people, that his artistic faculty showed it, and that his name was as foreign as my own. He said he didn't really want £50. He was only joking. All he wanted was a couple of sovereigns.
I'll beg your pardon, sir.
Eh?
I beg your pardon, sir. It's not about the hotel. I'm not allowed to be on the terrace, and I should be discharged if I was seen speaking to you, unless you were kind enough to say you called me to ask whether the motor has come back from the station yet.
Has it?
Yes, sir.
Well, what do you want?
Would you mind, sir, giving me the address of the gentleman who was with you at dinner?
Yes, of course I should mind. Very much indeed. You have no right to ask.
Yes, sir. I know it looks like that, but what am I to do?
What's the matter with you?
Nothing, sir. I want the address, that's all.
Do you mean the young gentleman?
Yes, sir, that went to catch the train with the woman he brought with him.
The woman? You mean the lady who dined with us? The gentleman's wife?
Don't believe them, sir. She can't be his wife. I'm his wife.
My good
What's that? Oh, this is getting perfectly fascinating, Richard.
I could run upstairs and get you my marriage lines in a minute, sir, if you doubt my word. He's Mr. Louis Dubedat, isn't he?
Yes.
Well, sir, you may believe me or not, but I am the lawful Mrs. Dubedat.
And why aren't you living with your husband?
We couldn't afford it, sir. I had £30 saved, and we spent it on our honeymoon in 3 weeks, and a lot more that he borrowed. Then I had to go back into service, and he went to London to get work at his drawing. And he never wrote me a line or sent me an address. I never saw nor heard of him again till I caught sight of him from the window going off in the motor with that woman.
Well, that's 2 wives to start with.
Now, I don't wish to be uncharitable, but I'm beginning to suspect that our young friend may be rather careless.
Beginning to think, how long will it take you, man, to find out that he's a damned young blackguard?
Oh, that's severe, Sir Patrick. Very severe.
Yes.
Of course it's bigamy. But still, he's very young, and she's very pretty. Mr. Walpole, may I sponge on you for another of those nice cigarettes of yours?
Certainly. Oh, bother. Well, I say, I recollect now. I passed my cigarette case to Dubedat, and he didn't return it. It was a gold one.
He didn't mean any harm. He never thinks about things like that, sir. I'll get it back for you, sir, if you'll tell me where to find him.
What am I to do? Shall I give her the address or not?
Now, give her your own address, and then we'll see. You'll have to be content with that for the moment, my girl. What's your name?
Minnie Tinwell, sir.
Well, you write him a letter to care of this gentleman, and it'll be sent on. Now, be off with you.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure you wouldn't see me wronged. Thank you all, and excuse the liberty.
I say, you chaps, do you realise we've just promised Mrs. Dubedat to save that fellow's life?
What's the matter with him?
Tuberculosis.
And can you cure that?
I believe so.
Then I wish you'd cure me. My right lung is touched, I'm sorry to say.
Well, but you mustn't
No,
say
no,
what
no,
you
no,
say,
I know what you're going to say. I've said it often to others. I can't afford to take care of myself, and there's an end of it.
I must go. It's been a very pleasant evening, Collie. You might let me have my portrait, if you don't mind. I'll send Mr. Dubedat that couple of sovereigns for it.
No, Looney, don't do that. I don't think he'd like that.
Well, of course I shan't if you feel that way about it, but I don't think you understand Dubedat. However, perhaps that is because I am a Jew. Good night, Dr. Blenkinsop.
Good night, sir. I mean, good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night. Time for us all to move. Mr. Walpole, take Blenkinsop home. He's had enough of the open-air treatment for tonight. Do you have a thick overcoat to wear in the motor, Dr. Blenkinsop?
Oh, they'll give me some brown paper in the hotel. A few thicknesses of brown paper across the chest are better than any fur coat.
Well, come along. Good night, Collie. You're coming with us, aren't you, Bibi? Yes, I'm coming. Come along, Good night. Well, good night, my dear Ridgeon. Let us not lose sight of your interesting patient and his very charming wife. We must try not to judge him too hastily. Good night, Paddy. Bless you, dear old chap.
Yeah.
Good night. Good night. Good night.
Well, Mr. Saviour of Lives, which is it to be? That honest, decent man, Blenkinsop, or that rotten blackguard of an artist, eh?
Well, it's not an easy case to judge, is it? Blenkinsop's an honest, decent man, but is he any use? Dubedat's a rotten blackguard, but he's a genuine source of pretty and pleasant and good things.
And what will he be a source of for that poor, innocent wife of his when she finds him out?
That's true. Her life will be a hell.
And tell me this. Suppose you had this choice put before you. Either to go through life and find all the pictures bad but all the men and women good, or to go through life and find all the pictures good and all the men and women rotten. Which would you choose, eh?
It would be simpler if Blenkinsop could paint Dubedat's pictures.
It'd be simpler still if Dubedat had some of Blenkinsop's honesty. You've to hold the scales between Blenkinsop and Dubedat. Hold them fairly.
I'll be as fair as I can. I'm not at all convinced the world wouldn't be a better world if everyone behaved as Dubedat does than it is now that everyone behaves as Blenkinsop does.
Then why don't you behave as Dubedat does?
Ah. That beats me. That is the experimental test. Still, it's a dilemma. It's a dilemma. You see, there's a complication we haven't mentioned.
What's that?
Well, if I let Blenkinsop die, at least no one can say I did it because I wanted to marry his widow.
What's that?
Now, if I let Dubedat die, I'll marry his widow.
Perhaps she won't have you, you know.
Oh, I've a pretty good flair for that sort of thing. I know when a woman is interested in me. She is.
Sometimes a man knows best, and sometimes he knows worst. You'd much better cure them both.
Can't do that. I'm at my limit. I can squeeze in one more case, but not two. I must choose.
Well, you must choose as if she didn't exist, that's clear.
Is that clear to you? Mind, it's not clear to me. She troubles my judgment.
To me, it's a plain choice between a man and a lot of pictures.
It's easier to replace a dead man than a good picture.
Collie, when you live in an age that runs to pictures and statues and plays and brass bands, because its men and women are not good enough to comfort its poor aching soul, you should thank Providence that you belong to a profession that is a high and great profession, because its business is to heal and mend men and women.
In short, as a member of a high and great profession, I'm to kill my patient.
Don't talk wicked nonsense. You can't kill him. But you can leave him in other hands.
In BB's, for instance. Eh?
Sir Ralph Bloomfield Bonington is a very eminent physician.
He is.
I'm going for my hat. No.
Waiter.
My bill, please.
Yes, sir.
Promise.
I promise, my darling.
Whenever you want money, you will always come to me.
But it's so sordid, dearest. I hate money. I can't always keep bothering you for money. Money, money. That's what drives me sometimes to ask other people for it, though I hate doing
It
it.
is far better to ask me, dear. It gives people a wrong idea of
But
you.
I want to spare your little fortune and raise money on my own work. Don't be unhappy, love. I can easily earn enough to pay it all back. I'll have my one-man show next season, and then there'll be no more money troubles. There. I mustn't do any more on that till it's bone dry, so you may come down.
But you have promised. Remember seriously and faithfully never to borrow again until you've at least asked me.
Seriously and faithfully, oh, my love. How right you are. How much it means to me to have you by me, to guard me against living too much in the skies. On my solemn oath, from this moment forth, I will never borrow another penny.
Oh, that's right. Does his wicked worrying wife torment him and drag him down from the clouds? And now, dear, won't you finish those drawings for McLean?
Oh, they don't matter. I got nearly all the money off him in advance.
But, dearest, that's just why you should finish them. He asked me the other day whether you really intended to finish them.
Confound his impudence! What the devil does he take me for? Now, that just destroys all my interest in the beastly job. I've a good mind to throw out the commission and pay him back his money.
We can't afford that, dear. You had better finish the drawings and have done with them. I think it is a mistake to accept money in advance.
But how are we to live?
Louis! It's getting hard enough as it is. Now they're all refusing to pay except on delivery.
Damn those fellows! They think of nothing. They care for nothing except their wretched money.
Still, if they pay us, they ought to have what they pay for.
There now, that is enough lecturing for one day. I have promised to be good, haven't I?
You know that I hate lecturing. And that I don't for a moment misunderstand you, dear. Don't you?
I know. I'm a wretch, and you're an angel. Oh, if only I was strong enough to work steadily, I would make my darling's house a temple. Her shrine a chapel more beautiful than ever was imagined. I can't pass the shops without wrestling the temptation to go in and order all the really good things they have for you.
I want nothing but you, dear. There, be good now. Remember, the doctors are coming this morning. Isn't it extraordinarily kind of them, Louis, to insist on coming, all of them, to consult about you?
Oh, I dare say they think it'll be a feather in their cap to cure a rising artist. They wouldn't come if it didn't amuse them anyhow. I say it's not time yet, is it?
No. Well, not quite yet.
Hello, Ridgeon. Delighted to see you. Come in. Come in.
It's so good of you to come, Doctor.
Please excuse this place, won't you? It's only a studio. There's no real convenience for living here, but we pig along somehow, thanks to Jennifer.
Now I'll run away. Perhaps later, when you're finished with Louis, I might come back and hear the verdict.
I say, don't look so grave. There's nothing awful going to happen, is there?
No.
That's all right. Poor Jennifer's been looking forward to your visit more than you could imagine. She's taken quite a fancy to you, Ridgeon. Well, the poor girl has nobody to talk to. I'm always painting. Here's a little sketch I made of her yesterday.
She showed it to me a fortnight ago when she first called on me.
Did she? Good Lord, how the time does fly. I could have sworn I'd only just finished it. It's hard for her here, seeing me piling up the drawings and nothing coming in for them. Of course I shall sell them. Next year, fast enough, after my one-man show, but while the grass grows, the steed starves. I hate to have her coming to me for money, having none to give her. But what can I do?
I understood that Mrs. Dubedat had some property of her own.
Oh, yes, a little, but how could a man with any decency of feeling touch that? And suppose I did, what would she have to live on? If I died, I'm not insured. I can't afford the premiums. How do you like that?
I have not come here today to look at your drawings. I have more serious and pressing business with you.
You want to sound my wretched lung? My dear Ridgeon, I'll be frank with you. What's the matter in this house isn't lungs, but bills. Now, it doesn't matter about me, but Jennifer has actually come to economize in the matter of food. You've made us feel that we can treat you as a friend, and... Will you lend us £150?
No.
Why not?
I'm not a rich man, and I need every penny I can spare, and more, for my researches.
You mean you want the money back again?
I presume people sometimes have that in view when they lend money.
Well, I can manage that for you. I'll give you a cheque. Or see here. Now, there is no reason why you shouldn't have your bit too. I'll give you a cheque for 200.
Why not cash the cheque at once without troubling me?
Bless you, they wouldn't cash it. I'm overdrawn as it is. Now, the way to work it is this. I'll post-date the cheque next October. In October, Jennifer's dividends come in. Well, you present the cheque. It'll be returned marked referred to drawer or some rubbish of that sort. Then you can take it to Jennifer. And hint that if the cheque isn't taken up at once, I'll be put in prison. She'll pay you like a shot. You'll clear £50. You'll do me a real service, for I do want the money very badly, old chap, I assure you.
You see no objection to the transaction, and you anticipate none from me.
Well, what objection can there be? It's quite safe. I can convince you about the dividends.
I mean on the score of its being, shall I say, dishonourable.
Well, of course, I shouldn't suggest it if I didn't want the money.
Indeed. Well, you'll have to find some other means of getting it.
Do you mean you refuse?
I mean, of course I refuse, man. What do you take me for? How dare you make such a proposal to me?
Why not?
Why not? Oh, you wouldn't understand if I tried to explain. Now, once and for all, I will not lend you a farthing. I should be glad to help your wife, but lending you money is of no service to her.
Oh, well, if you're in earnest about helping her, I'll tell you what you might do. You might get your patients to buy some of my things or give me a few portrait commissions.
My patients call me in as a physician, not as a commercial traveller.
Yes, but you must have a great deal of influence with them. You must know such a lot of things about them. Private things. That they wouldn't like to have known. They wouldn't dare to refuse you.
Well, upon my soul. I've been here hardly 10 minutes, and he's already tried to borrow £150 from me.
What?
Then he proposed I should get the money for him by blackmailing his wife, and you've just interrupted him in the act of suggesting I blackmail my patients into sitting to him for their portraits.
Well, Ridgeon, if that's what you call being an honourable man, I spoke to you in confidence.
We're all going to speak to you in confidence, young man.
We shall make ourselves at home for half an hour, Dubedat. Don't be alarmed. You're a most fascinating chap, and we love you.
All right. Sit down any way you can. Take this chair, Sir Patrick. Here you are, BB. Let me take your hat. You don't mind a cushion, do you, Walpole?
By the way, I'll trouble you for my cigarette case, if you don't mind.
What cigarette case?
It's a gold one I lent you at the Star and Garter.
Was that yours?
Yes.
Yes, I'm awfully sorry, old chap. I wondered whose it was. I'm sorry to say that this is all that's left of it.
A pawn ticket.
It's quite safe. You can't sell it for a year. You know, my dear Walpole, I am awfully sorry.
Don't mention it. It adds to your fascination.
Before we go any further, you have a debt to pay, Mr. Dubedat.
I have a precious lot of debts to pay, Ridgeon. I'll fetch you a chair.
You shall not leave the room until you've paid it. It's a small one, and pay it you must and shall. I don't so much mind you borrowing £10 from one of my guests and £20 from another.
I walked into it, you know. I offered it.
They could afford it, but to clean poor Blenkinsop out of his last half-crown was damnable. I intend to give him that half-crown and to be in a position to pledge him my word that you paid it. I'll have that out of you at all events.
Quite right, Ridgeon, quite right. Come, young man, down with the dust. Pay up.
Oh, you needn't make such a fuss about it. Of course I'll pay it. I had no idea the poor fellow was hard up. I'm as shocked as any of you are. Here you are. Oh, I say. I don't seem to have any money on me just at present. Walpole, would you mind lending me £0.50 just to settle this?
Lend you
well,
half?
If you don't, Blenkinsop won't get it, for I don't have a rap, and you may search my pockets if you like.
That's conclusive. Yeah. Well.
There. I'm really glad that's settled. It was the only thing that was on my conscience. Now I hope you're all satisfied.
Not quite, Mr. Dubedat. Do you happen to know a young woman named Minnie Tinwell?
Minnie? I should think I do, and Minnie knows me too. She's a really nice, good girl, considering her station. What's become of her?
It's no use bluffing, Dubrat. We've seen Minnie's marriage lines.
Indeed. Have you seen Jennifer's?
Do you dare insinuate that Mrs. Dubedat is living with you without being married to you?
Why not?
Well, why not?
Yes, why not? Lots of people do it. Just as good people as you. Why don't you learn to think, instead of bleating and barring like a lot of old sheep when you come up against anything you're not accustomed to? I say, I should like to draw the lot of you now. You do look jolly foolish. Especially you, Ridgeon. I had you that time, you know.
How, pray?
Well, you set up to appreciate Jennifer, you know, and you despise me, don't you?
I loathe you.
Just so, and yet you believe Jennifer to be a bad lot because you think I told you so.
Were you lying?
No, but you were smelling out a scandal instead of keeping your mind clean and wholesome. I can just play with people like you. I only ask you, had you seen Jennifer's marriage lines? You conclude straight away that she hasn't got any. You don't know a lady when you see one.
What do you mean by that, may I ask?
Now, I'm only an immoral artist, but if you told me Jennifer wasn't married, I'd have the gentlemanly feeling, the artistic instinct, to say she carried her marriage certificate in her face and in her character. But you are all moral men, and Jennifer is only an artist's wife. Probably a model. A morality consists of people suspecting other people of not being legally married. Aren't you ashamed of yourselves? Can one of you look me in the face after it?
It's very hard to look you in the face, Dubedat. You have such a dazzling cheek. What about Minnie Tinwell, eh?
Minnie Tinwell is a young woman who has had 3 weeks of glorious happiness in her poor little life, which is more than most girls in a position get, I can tell you. Ask her whether she'd take it back if she could. She's got her name into history, that girl. My little sketches of her will be fought for by collectors at Christie's, and she will have a page in my biography. Pretty good, that, for a storeroom maid at a seaside hotel, I think. What have you fellows done for her that compares with that?
We haven't trapped her into a mock marriage and deserted her.
No. You wouldn't have the pluck.
Oh.
But don't fuss yourselves. I didn't desert little Minnie. We spent all our money.
All her money, £30.
I said all our money, hers and mine too. Her £30 didn't last 3 days. I had to borrow 4 times as much to spend on her, but I didn't grudge it, and she didn't grudge a few pounds either, the brave little lassie.
Mr. Dubedat, a man's behaviour may be quite harmless and even beneficial when he is morally behaving like a scoundrel, and he may do great harm when he is morally acting on the highest principles. But that does not affect the fundamental truth of morality.
And it doesn't affect the criminal law on the subject of bigamy.
Bigamy. Bigamy. Bigamy. What a fascination anything connected with the police has for you all, you moralists.
You were married already when you married Minnie, and that settles it.
Does it? Why can't you think? How do you know she wasn't married already, too?
Oh, this
well,
is
damn me.
She was married to the steward of a liner. He cleared out and left her. And she thought, poor girl, that it was the law, that if you hadn't heard of your husband in 3 years, you might marry again.
You let her risk imprisonment in her ignorance of the law.
Well, I risked imprisonment for her sake. I could have been had up for it just as much as she. But when a man makes a sacrifice of that sort for a woman, he doesn't go and brag about it. At least not if he's a gentleman.
What are we to do with this daisy?
Go and do whatever the devil you please. Put Minnie in prison. Put me in prison.
Yeah.
Kill Jennifer with the disgrace of it all. And when you've done all the mischief, you can go to church. And feel good about it.
He's got us.
He has.
But is he to be allowed to defy the criminal law of the land? At least it would punish him.
Oh, yes, it'd punish him. It'd punish not only him, but everybody connected with him, innocent and guilty alike. It'd put the girl in prison and ruin her. It'd lay his wife's life waste. You may put the criminal law out of your head once and for all. It's only fit for fools and savages.
Would you mind turning your face a little this way, Sir Patrick?
Huh?
Oh, that's too much.
Put down your foolish pencil, man, and think of your position. You can defy the laws made by men, but there are other laws to reckon with. Do you know that you're going to die?
Well, we're all going to die, aren't we?
We're not all going to die in 6 months.
How do you know?
Upon my soul, I will not stand this. It is in questionable taste under any circumstances and in any company to harp on the subject of death. But this is a dastardly advantage to take on a medical man. I will not allow it. Do you hear?
Well, I didn't begin it. You chaps did. With all your tall talk, you've only one real trump in your hand, and that's intimidation. Well, I'm not a coward, so it's no use with me.
I will tell you what you are, sir. You are a scoundrel.
Oh, I don't mind you calling me a scoundrel a bit. It's only a word. A word you don't know the meaning of. What is a scoundrel?
You are a scoundrel, sir.
Just so. What is a scoundrel? I am. What am I? I'm a scoundrel. It's just arguing in a circle. And you imagine you're a man of
I've
science.
a very good mind to take you by the scruff of your neck, you infamous rascal, and give you a sound thrashing.
I wish you would. You pay me something handsome to keep it out of court afterwards.
Oh.
Have you any more civilities to address me in my own house? I should so like to get them over before my wife comes back.
My mind's made up. When the law breaks down, honest men must find a remedy for themselves. I will not lift a finger to save this reptile.
That is the word I was trying to remember. Reptile.
I can't help rather liking you, Dubedat, but you certainly are a thoroughgoing specimen.
Look here, all this is no good. You don't understand. You imagine I'm simply an ordinary criminal.
Not an ordinary one, Dubedat. Do yourself justice.
You're on the wrong tack altogether. I'm not a criminal. All your moralisings have no value for me. I don't believe in morality.
Well, you know our opinion of you now at all events. Good afternoon to you.
No, please, Sir Patrick. I'm sorry to have shocked you, upon my word. Give me another chance. 2 minutes more, that's all I ask.
Well, I don't mind giving you another 2 minutes, but don't you address yourself to me, young man, for I have retired from practice and I don't pretend to be able to cure your complaint. Your life is in the hands of these gentlemen.
Not in mine. My hands are full. I have no time and no means available for this case.
What do you say, Mr. Walpole?
Oh, I'll take him in hand, Adam. I feel perfectly convinced this is not a moral case at all. It's a physical one. There's something abnormal about his brain. That means probably some morbid condition affecting the spinal cord, and that means the circulation. In short, it's clear to me that he's suffering from an obscure form of blood poisoning, which is almost certainly due to an accumulation of ptomaines in the nuciform sac. I'll remove the sac.
Do you mean operate on me? No, thank you.
Never fear, you won't feel anything. You'll be under an anaesthetic, of course. And it will be extraordinarily interesting.
Oh, well, if it won't hurt me, it would interest you. That is another matter. How much will you give me to let you do it?
Yeah, how much? What do you mean?
Well, you don't expect me to let you cut me up for nothing, do you?
Will you paint my portrait for nothing?
No, but I'll give you the portrait after it's painted. You could sell it afterwards, perhaps double the money, but I can't sell my nuciform sac when you've cut it out.
Richard, did you ever hear anything like this? Well, you can keep your nuciform sac and your tubercular lung and your diseased brain. I've done with you. One would think I was not conferring a favour on the fellow.
That leaves only one medical man who has not withdrawn from your case, Mr. Dubedat. You have nobody left to appeal to now but Sir Ralph Bloomfield Bonington.
If I were you, BB, I shouldn't touch him with a pair of tongs. Let him take his lungs to the Brompton Hospital. They won't cure him, but they'll teach him manners.
My weakness is that I've never been able to say no, even to the most thoroughly undeserving people. Mr. Dubedat, your moral character is nothing to me. I look at you from a purely scientific point of view. To me, you are simply a field of battle in which an invading army of tubercle bacilli struggles with a patriotic force of phagocytes. Having made a promise to your wife, which my principles will not allow me to break, to stimulate those phagocytes, I will stimulate them. And I will take no further responsibility.
Well, Mr. Dubedat, as Sir Ralph has very kindly offered to take charge of your case, I must ask you to excuse me.
Certainly, I'm quite done with you. There. While you've been talking, I've been doing. What is there left of your moralising? Only a little carbonic acid gas which makes the room unhealthy. What is there left of my work? That. Look at it.
You young rascal! Was it drawing me you were?
Of course, what else?
That's rather good. Don't you think so, Colin?
So good, I should like to have it.
No, I should like to have that myself. What do you think, Walpole?
No, by Jove, I must have this.
I wish I could afford to give it to you, Sir Patrick, but I pay 5 guineas sooner than part with it.
Oh, for that matter, I'll give you 6 for it.
10.
I think Sir Patrick is morally entitled to it as he sat for it. Shall I send it to your house, Sir Patrick, for 12 guineas?
12 guineas? Not if you were president of the Royal Academy, young man.
Will you take it at 12, Sir Ralph?
12 guineas. Thank you. I'll take it for that. Accept it from me, Paddy. And long may you be spared to contemplate it.
Thank you.
I needn't settle with you now, Mr. Dubedat. My fees will come to more than that.
Well, of all the mean... I'd let myself be shot sooner than do a thing like that. I consider you've stolen that drawing.
So, we've converted you to a belief in morality after all, eh?
Walpole, I'll do another one for you if you give me the 10 that you promised.
Very good. I'll pay on delivery.
What the devil do you take me for? Have you no confidence in my honour?
None whatever.
Oh, well, of course, if you feel that way about it, you can't help it. Before you go, Sir Patrick, let me fetch Jennifer. I know she'd like to see you, if you don't mind. Oh, before she comes in, a word. You've all been speaking here pretty freely about me in my own house too. Well, I don't mind that. I'm a man. I can take care of myself. But when Jennifer comes in, please remember that she is a lady, and that you are supposed to be gentlemen.
Well, damn his impudence.
I shouldn't be at all surprised to learn that he's well connected. Whenever I meet dignity and self-possession without any discernible basis, I diagnose good family.
Diagnose artistic genius, B.B. That's what saves his self-respect.
The world is made like that. The decent fellows are always being lectured and put out of countenance by the snobs.
I am not put out of countenance, and I should like to meet the man by Jupiter who could put me on countenance. Ah, Mrs. Dubedat, and how are we today?
Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you, Sir Patrick. Oh, life has been worth living since I've known you, Sir Colenso. Since Richmond, I have not known a moment's fear, and it used to be nothing but fear. Won't you sit down and tell me the result of the consultation?
I'll go, if you don't mind, Mrs. Dubedat. I have an appointment. Before I go, let me say that I'm quite agreed with my colleagues here as to the character of the case. As to the cause and the remedy, that's not my business. I'm only a surgeon, and these gentlemen are physicians and will advise you. I may have my own views. In fact, I have them, and they're perfectly well known to my colleagues. If I'm needed, and needed I shall be finally, they know where to find me, and I'm always at your service. So, for today, goodbye.
I also will ask you to excuse me, Mrs. Dubedat. As you know, ma'am, I'm not in practice now, so I shall not be in charge of the case. It rests between Sir Colenso Ridgeon and Sir Ralph Bloomfield Bonington. They know my opinion. Good afternoon to you, ma'am.
There's nothing wrong, is there? You don't think Louis is worse, do you?
No, he's no worse. Just the same as at Richmond.
Oh. Thank you, you frightened me. Excuse me.
Don't mention it, ma'am.
Now, Mrs. Dubedat, if I am to take the patient in hand...
You?
Yeah?
But I thought Sir Colenso...
My dear lady, your husband shall have me.
But...
No, not a word. It will be a pleasure to me, for your sake. Sir Colenso Ridgeon will be in his proper place in the bacteriological laboratory. I shall be in my proper place at the bedside. Your husband shall be treated exactly as if he were a member of the royal family. No gratitude, please. It would embarrass me, I assure you. Now, if I might ask, are you particularly tied to these apartments?
This studio and flat are self-contained. I've suffered so much in lodgings. The servants are so frighteningly dishonest.
Oh, are they? Oh, dear me.
I was never accustomed to lock things up, and I missed so many small sums. At last, a dreadful thing happened. I missed a £5 note.
Oh.
It was traced to the housemaid, and she actually said that Louis had given it to her.
Ah.
And he wouldn't let me do anything. He's so sensitive. These things drive him mad.
Yes, I see. Say no more, Mrs. Dubedat. You shall not move. If the mountain will not come to Mohammed, then Mohammed must come to the mountain. And now I must be off. I will write and make an appointment. We shall begin to stimulate the phagocytes on, probably on Tuesday next. I will let you know. Depend on me. Don't fret. Eat regularly, sleep well, keep your spirits up, keep the patient cheerful. Hope for the best. No tonic like a charming woman. No medicine like cheerfulness. No resource like science. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Oh, Collie, on Tuesday morning, will you send me down a tube of some really stiff antitoxin? Any kind will do. Don't forget. Goodbye, Collie.
You look quite discouraged again. What's the matter? Are you disappointed?
I know, I ought to be grateful. Believe me, I am very grateful, but...
Well?
I had set my heart on your curing Louis.
Well, Sir Ralph Bloomfield Bonington.
I know, it's a great privilege to have him, but... Oh, I wish it had been you. I know it sounds unreasonable, I can't explain, but I had such a strong instinct that you would cure him, and I can't feel the same about Sir Ralph. You promised me. Why did you give Louis up?
I explained to you. I cannot undertake another case.
But at Richmond...
At Richmond I thought I could take one more case, but my old friend, Dr. Blenkinsop, has claimed that place. His lung is attacked.
You mean that elderly man? That rather silly...
I mean The gentleman who dined with us, an excellent and honest man whose life is as valuable as anyone else's. I have arranged to take his case, and Sir Ralph Bloomfield Bonington will take Mr. Dubedat.
Oh, I see what it is. Oh, it's envious, mean, cruel, and I thought you would be above such a thing.
What do you mean?
Do you think I don't know? Do you think it's never happened before? Why does everybody turn against him? Can you not forgive him for being superior to you? For being cleverer, for being braver, for being a great artist?
Yes, I can forgive him for all that.
But your manner is changed. And you've broken your promise to me to make room for him as your patient.
I think you are a little unreasonable. He's had the best medical attention in London. His case has been taken in hand by a leader of the profession.
It is so cruel to keep telling me that. It seems all right, and it puts me in the wrong, and I'm not in the wrong. I have faith in you, and I have no faith in the others. We've seen so many doctors I've come to know at last when they're only talking and can do nothing. It's different with you. I feel that you know. Oh, you must listen to me, Doctor. I know Louis, as nobody else in the world knows him or can ever know him. I am his wife. I know he has little faults. Impatience, sensitiveness, even little selfishnesses that are too trivial for him to notice. I know he sometimes shocks people about money because he's so utterly above it and can't understand the value that ordinary people set on it. Oh, tell me, did he borrow any money from you?
He asked me for some once.
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. It will never happen again. I pledge you my word for that. He's given me his promise, here, in this room, just before you came. And he is incapable of breaking his word. That was his only real weakness, and now it's conquered and done with forever.
Was that really his only weakness?
He is perhaps sometimes weak about women. Because they adore him so and are always laying traps for him. And of course, when he says he doesn't believe in morality, ordinary pious people think he must be wicked. Oh, you can understand, can't you? How all of this sets up a good deal of gossip about him and gets repeated until even good friends set against him.
Yes, I understand.
Oh, if only you knew the other side of him, as I do. Do you know, Doctor, that if Louis dishonoured himself by a really bad action, I should kill myself?
Come, don't exaggerate.
I should. You don't understand that, you East Country people.
You did not see much of the world in Cornwall, did you?
Oh, yes. I saw a great deal, every day, of the beauty of the world. More than you ever see here in London. I saw very few people, if that's what you mean. I was an only child.
That explains a good deal.
I had a great many dreams, but at last they all came to one dream.
Yes. The usual dream.
Is it usual?
As I guessed. You haven't yet told me what it was.
I didn't want to waste myself. I could do nothing myself, but I had a little property and I could help with it. I had even a little beauty. Oh, don't think me vain for knowing it. I knew that men of genius always had a terrible struggle with poverty and neglect at first. My dream was to save one of them from that and bring some charm and happiness into his life. I prayed heaven to send me one. I firmly believe that Louis was guided to me in answer to my prayer. He was no more like the other men I'd met than the Thames embankment is like our Cornish coasts. He saw everything that I saw and drew it for me. He understood everything. He came to me like a child. Only fancy, Doctor, he never even wanted to marry me. He never thought of the things that other men think of. I had to propose it myself. And then he said he had no money. When I said I had some, he said, oh, all right. Just like a boy. And he's still like that. He's quite unspoiled. A man in his thoughts, a great poet and artist in his dreams, and a child in his ways. I gave him myself and all that I have, that he might grow to his full height with plenty of sunshine. If I lost faith in him, it would mean the wreck and failure of my life. I should go back to Cornwall and die. I could show you the very cliff I should jump off. You must cure him. Oh, you must make him quite well again for me. I know that you can do it and that nobody else can. I implore you not to refuse what I'm going to ask you to do. Take Louis yourself and let Sir Ralph cure Dr. Blenkinsop.
Mrs. Dubedat, do you really believe in my knowledge and skill as you say you do?
Absolutely. I do not give my trust by halves.
I know that. Well, I am going to test you. Hard. Will you believe me when I say that I understand everything you have just told me, and that I have no desire but to serve you in the most faithful friendship, and that your hero must be preserved to you.
Oh, forgive me. Oh, forgive what I said. You will preserve him to me.
At all hazards. No, you have not heard the rest. You must believe me when I tell you that the one chance of preserving the hero lies in Louis being in the care of Sir Ralph.
You say so. I have no more doubts. I believe you. Thank you.
Goodbye. I hope this will be a lasting friendship.
It will. My friendships end only with death.
Death ends everything, doesn't it? Goodbye.
What's the matter? Have you been sent for too?
We've all been sent for. I've only just come. I haven't seen him yet. The charwoman says that old Paddy Cullen has been here with BB for the last half hour. Well, what's up?
Go in and see. BB's in there with him.
Mm-hmm. What has happened?
Do you remember Jane Marsh's arm?
Is that what's happened?
That's what's happened. His lung has gone like Jane's arm. I never saw such a case. He's got through 3 months galloping consumption in 3 days.
BB got in on the negative phase.
Negative or positive, the lad's done for. He won't last out the afternoon. He'll go suddenly. I've often seen it.
So long as he goes before his wife finds him out, I don't care. I fully expected this.
It's a little hard on a lad to be killed because his wife has too high an opinion of him. Fortunately, few of us are in any danger of that.
Ah, here you are, Ridgeon. Paddy's told you, of course.
Yes.
Yes. It's an enormously interesting case. You know, Collie, by Jupiter, if I didn't know as a matter of scientific fact that I'd been stimulating the phagocytes, I should say I'd been stimulating the other things. What is the explanation of it, Sir Patrick? How do you account for it, Ridgeon? Have we been over-stimulating the phagocytes? Have they not only eaten up the bacilli, but attacked and devoured the red corpuscles as well? A possibility suggested by the patient's pallor.
Well, BB, you've done it this time.
What do you mean?
Killed him. What? The worst case of neglected blood poisoning I ever saw. It's too late now to do anything. He'd die under the anaesthetic.
Killed? Really, Walpole, if your monomania were not well known, I should take such an expression very seriously.
Come. When you both killed as many people as I have in my time, you'll feel humble enough about it. Come and look at him, Collie.
I apologise, BB,
Yeah.
but it's blood poisoning.
Oh, my dear Walpole, everything is blood poisoning. But upon my soul, I shall not use any of Ridgeon's stuff again. What made me so sensitive about what you said just now is that, strictly between ourselves, Ridgeon has cooked our young friend's goose.
Sorry?
Yes?
What am I to do with that man who insisted on seeing me and sent in word that his business was important to Louis is a newspaper man?
Oh.
A paragraph appeared in the paper this morning saying Louis is seriously ill and this man wants to interview him about it. How can people be so brutally callous?
You just leave me to deal with him.
But Louis insists on seeing him. He almost began to cry about it. And he says he can't bear his room any longer. He says he wants to die in his studio. Sir Patrick says let him have his way. It can do no harm. What shall we do?
Why, follow Sir Patrick's excellent advice, of course. As he says, it can do no harm, and no doubt will do him good, a great deal of good. He will be much the better for it.
Will you bring the man up here, Mr. Walpole, and tell him he may see Louis, but he mustn't exhaust him by talking.
Very well.
Sir Ralph,
Yes.
Don't be angry with me, but Louis will die if he stays here. I must take him to Cornwall. He will recover there.
Cornwall? Why, the very place for him. Perfect for the lungs. Oh, why didn't I think of it myself? But then, you are his best physician, dear lady, after all. An inspiration. Cornwall. Of course. Yes, yes, yes.
You're so kind, Sir Ray, but don't give me much hope, or I shall cry and Louis can't bear that.
Then let us come back to him and help to bring him in. Cornwall, of course. Oh, the very thing.
This way. Close the door.
This is the studio, I suppose?
Yes.
Where he has his models, eh?
No doubt.
Cubicle, you said it was?
Yes. Tubercle.
Which way do you spell it? Is it C-U-B-I-C-A-L or C-L-E?
Tubercle, man, not cubicle. T-U-B-E-R-C-L-E.
Oh, tubercle. Some disease, I suppose. I thought he had consumption. You one of the family or the doctor?
I'm neither one nor the other. I am Mr. Cutler Walpole. Put that down. Then put down Sir Colenso Ridgeon.
Pidgey?
Ridgeon. Here, you better let me write their names down for you. I'm sure to get them wrong. That comes of belonging to an illiterate profession with no qualifications and no public register.
Ooh, I'll say you have got your knife into us, haven't you?
I wish I had. I'd make a better man of you. Now, attend. These are the names of the 3 doctors. This is the patient. This is the address. This is the name of the disease. Yeah. Mr. Dubedat will be brought in here presently. He wants to see you because he doesn't know how bad he is. We'll allow you to wait a few minutes to humour him, but if you talk to him, out you go. He may die at any moment.
Is he as bad as that? I'll say I am in luck today. Yeah. Would you mind letting me photograph you? Could you have a lancet or something in your hand?
Put it up. If you want my photograph, you can get it in Baker Street in any of the series of celebrities.
Yeah, but they'll want to be paid. Now, if you wouldn't mind...
I would. Put it up, I tell you. Give it to me. Now, sit down there. Be quiet.
That's happiness. It's being a studio. Happiness.
Yes, dear. Sir Patrick says you may stay here as long as you like.
Jennifer.
Yes, my darling.
Is the newspaper man here?
Yes, Mr. Dubedat. What? I'm here. At your service. I represent the press. I thought you might let us have a few words about... well, a few words on your illness and your plans for the season.
My plans for the season are very simple. I'm going to die.
Louis.
Ridgeon, give me something to keep me going a few more minutes. I have some things to say before I go.
Suppose it can do no harm.
Put some milk in it. Don't set him coughing.
Jennifer.
Yes, dear.
If there's one thing I hate more than another, it's a widow. Promise me you will never be a widow.
My dear, what do you mean?
I want you to look beautiful. I want people to see in your eyes that you were married to me. The people in Italy used to point at Dante and say, there goes the man who has been in hell. I want them to point at you and say, there goes the woman who has been in heaven. And it has been heaven, hasn't it, darling? Sometimes...
Yes, always, always.
If you wear black and cry, people will say, look at that miserable woman. Her husband made her miserable.
No, never. You are the light and blessing of my life. I never lived until I knew you.
And you must always wear beautiful dresses and splendid magic jewels. Think of all the wonderful pictures that I shall never paint. Well, you must be transfigured with the beauty of all those pictures. Promise you will not make a little hell of crepe and crying and undertaker's horrors and withering flowers and all that vulgar rubbish.
I promise. But, my dear, all this is far off. You are to come to Cornwall with me and get well. Sir Rafe says so.
Poor old BB. Oh, poor fellow. Brain going.
Sir Patrick's there, isn't he?
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah.
Sit down, won't you? It's a shame to keep you standing about.
Oh, yes, yes. Thank you. All right.
Jennifer.
Yes, dear.
Do you remember the burning bush?
Yes. Oh, my dear, how it strains my heart to remember it now.
Does it? It fills me with joy. Tell them about it.
It was nothing, only that once in my old Cornish home we lit the first fire of the winter, and when we looked through the window, we saw the flames dancing in a bush in the garden.
Such a colour. Garnet colour. Waving like silk, liquid, lovely flame flowing up through the bay leaves and not burning them. Well, I shall be a flame like that. I'm sorry to disappoint all the poor little worms, but the last of me shall be the flame in the burning bush. Whenever you see the flame, Jennifer, it will be me. Promise me I shall be burned.
Oh, if I might be with you, Louis.
No, you must always be in the garden when the bush flames. You are my hold on the world. You are my immortality, promise.
I'm listening. I shall not forget. You know that I promise.
Well, that's about all. Except you are to hang my pictures at the one-man show. I can trust your eye. You will not let anyone else touch them.
You can trust me.
And there is nothing more to worry about, is there? Give me a drop more of that milk. I'm fearfully tired, but if I stop talking, I shan't begin again.
Yeah.
I say, B.B., do you think anything would stop you talking?
He confuses me with you, Paddy.
Jennifer.
Yes, dear.
I'll tell you a secret. I used to think our marriage was all an affectation. That I would break loose and run away someday. But now that I'm going to be broken loose, whether I like it or not, I am perfectly fond of you. I am perfectly satisfied because I shall live as part of you, not as my troublesome self.
Oh, stay with me, Louis. Oh, don't leave me, dearest.
Not that I'm selfish. With all my faults, I don't think I've ever been really selfish. No artist can. Art is too large for that. Jennifer, you will marry again.
Oh, Louis, how can you?
Yes. Because people who have found marriage happy always marry again. Ah, I shan't be jealous. Don't talk to the other fellow too much about me, you won't like it. I will be your lover all the time. It'll be a secret from him, poor devil.
Come. You've talked enough. Try to rest a while.
Yes, I'm fearfully tired, but I shall have a long rest presently. Well, all you chaps have thought pretty hard things about me and said them.
No.
Yes, you have. I know what you will think of me. Don't imagine I'm sore about it. I forgive you.
Oh, damn me. I beg your pardon.
That was all Walpole, I know. Don't grieve, Walpole. I am perfectly happy. I am not in pain. I don't want to live. I have escaped from myself. I am in heaven, immortal in the heart of my beautiful Jennifer. I am not afraid. I am not ashamed. I know, in an accidental sort of way, struggling through the unreal part of my life, I haven't always been able to live up to my ideal. But in my own real world, I have never done anything wrong. I have never denied my faith. And I have never been untrue to myself. And I have been threatened and blackmailed and insulted and starved. But I have played the game, and I have fought the good fight, and now that it's over, there is an indescribable peace. I believe in Michelangelo, Velasquez, Rembrandt, the might of design, the mystery of colour, the redemption of all things by beauty everlasting, and the message of art that has made these hands blessed. Amen. Amen.
Louis, are you...
Not yet, dear. Very nearly, but not yet. I should like to rest my head in your bosom, only it would tire you.
No, darling. How could you tire me?
Oh, that's good. That's real.
Don't spare me, dear. Indeed, you will not tire me. Lean on me with all your weight.
Ginny Quinny. I think I shall recover after all.
Yes, you shall.
Because suddenly I just want to sleep. Just an ordinary sleep.
Yes, dear. Sleep. please don't disturb him. What did you say, dear? I can't listen without moving him.
Yes? He wants to know, is the newspaper man here?
Yes, Mr. Dubedat. Here I am.
Oh, that's right, dear. Don't spare me. Lean with all your weight on me. Now you're really resting.
Let me take him, Mum. He will be better so.
No, please. Please, Doctor, he's not tiring me. And he'll be so hurt when he wakes if he finds I've put him away.
He will never wake again.
Was that death?
Yes.
Will you excuse me a moment? I will come back.
Ought we to follow her? Is she in her right senses?
Yes. She's all right. Leave her alone. She'll come back.
Let's get this thing out of the way before she comes.
Oh, my dear Collie, the poor lad. He died splendidly.
Aye. That is how the wicked die. No matter, it's not for us to judge. He's in another world now.
Borrowing his first £5 note there, probably.
I said the other day the most tragic thing in the world was the sick doctor. I was wrong. The most tragic thing in the world is a man of genius who is not also a man of honour.
I thought it showed a very nice feeling. He's being so particular about his wife going into proper mourning for him and making her promise never to marry again.
Mrs. Dubedat is not in a position to continue the interview, and neither are we.
Good afternoon to you.
Mrs. Dubedat said she was coming back.
After you have gone.
Here, do you think she'd give me a few words on how it feels to be a widow? That's a rather good title for an article, isn't it?
Young man, if you wait until Mrs. Dubedat returns, you will be able to write an article on how it feels to be turned out of the house.
Do you think she'd rather not?
Good day to you. Yeah. Make sure you get my name correctly. Good day.
Good day. Thank you, Mr...
no, not Mr. This is your hat. I'm... gloves? No, of course, no gloves. Good day to you.
Come on. Get out.
Poor fellow. Poor young fellow. How well he died. I feel a better man, really. He has set us an example. Let us endeavour to follow it rather than harp on the weaknesses that perished with him. I think it is Shakespeare who says that the good that most men do lives after them. The evil lies interred with their bones. Yes, interred with their bones. Oh, believe me, Paddy, we are all mortal. It's the common lot, Ridgeon. Say what you will, Walpole. Nature's debt must be paid. If it's not today, it will be tomorrow. Tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. After life's fitful fever, they sleep well. And like this insubstantial bourne from which no traveller returns, leave not a rack behind. Out, brief candle, for thou canst nothing to damnation add. The readiness is all.
Yes, Bibi. Death makes people go on like that. I don't know why it should, but it does. By the way, what are we going to do? Want me to clear out, or have we better wait and see whether Mrs. Dubedat will come back?
Oh, I think we'd better go. We can tell the charwoman what to do.
I'm so sorry to have kept you waiting.
It doesn't matter at all.
No.
I felt that I must shake hands with his friends once before we part today. We have shared together a great privilege and a great happiness. I don't think we can ever think of ourselves as ordinary people again. We've had a wonderful experience, and that gives us a common faith, a common ideal that nobody else can quite have. Life will always be beautiful to us. Death will always be beautiful to us. May we shake hands on that?
Remember, all letters had better be left to your solicitor. Let him open everything and settle everything. That is the law, you know.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know.
Goodbye. I blame myself. I should have insisted on operating.
I will
Send the proper people. They will know what to do. You shall have no trouble. Goodbye, my dear lady.
Goodbye.
I said his friends. Sir Colenso.
Mr. Danby? Have the catalogues come yet?
Not yet.
Oh, what a shame. It's 1:45. The private view will begin in less than half an hour.
I think I'd better run over to the printers to hurry them up.
If you'd be so good, Mr. Danby, I'll take your place while you're away.
If anyone should come before the time, don't take any notice. The commissioner won't let anyone through unless he knows him. We have a few people who like to come before the crowd. People who really buy, and, of course, we're glad to see them. Have you seen the notices in brush and crayon? And in the easel?
Yes, most disgraceful. They write quite patronisingly, as if they were Mr. Dubedat's superiors. After all the cigars and sandwiches they had from us on press day, and all they drank, I really think it's infamous that they should write like that. I hope you've not sent them tickets for today.
Oh, they won't come again. There's no lunch today. The advance copies of your book have come.
Give it to me. Oh, would you excuse me a moment?
Now, let's have a look. Ah, Sir Colenso.
Good morning. May I take a look round, as usual, before the doors open?
Certainly, Sir Colenso. I'm sorry, the catalogues have not come. I'm just going to see about them. Here's my own list, if you don't mind.
Thanks. What's this?
That's just come in. An advance copy of Mrs. Dubedat's Life of her late husband.
The story of a king of men by his wife. Aye, there he is. You knew him here, I suppose.
Oh, we knew him. Better than she did, Sir Colenso. In some ways, perhaps.
So did I. I'll take a look round.
Please do. I'd better see about these catalogues.
Clever brute. I beg your pardon. I thought I was alone.
I'm glad we've met, Sir Colenso Ridgeon. I met Dr. Blenkinsop yesterday. I congratulate you on a wonderful cure. He looked the picture of health and strength and prosperity.
He has been fortunate.
Very fortunate. His life has been spared.
I mean, he's been made a medical officer of health. He cured the chairman of the borough council very successfully.
With your medicines?
No, I believe it was with a pound of ripe greengages.
Funny.
Yes. Life does not cease to be funny when people die, any more than it ceases to be serious when people laugh.
Dr. Blenkinsop said one very strange thing to me.
What was that?
He said that private practice in medicine ought to be put down by law. When I asked him why, he said that private doctors were ignorant, licensed murderers.
That is what the public doctor always thinks of the private doctor. Well, Blenkinsop should know. He was a private doctor long enough himself. Come, you talked at me long enough. Talk to me. You have something to reproach me with. There is reproach in your face, in your voice. You are full of it. Out with it.
It is too late for reproaches now. When I saw you just now, I wondered how you could come here, coolly, to look at his pictures. You answered the question. To you, he was only a clever brute.
Oh, don't you know I did not know you were here?
You think it only matters because I heard it. As if it could touch me. Or touch him. Don't you see? What is really dreadful is that to you, living things have no souls.
The soul is an organ I have not come across in the course of my anatomical work.
Oh, you know you would not dare to say such a silly thing as that to anybody but a woman whose mind you despise. If you dissected me, you could not find my conscience. Do you think I've got none?
I've met people who had none.
You made a dreadful mistake about Louis. You blind yourself to the souls of men and women, and so you could see nothing in him but a clever brute.
I made no mistake whatever about him.
Oh, Doctor, have you forgotten that he died?
He's not dead. He's there. And there.
Put that down! How dare you touch it?
I'm very sorry. I see I had better go.
I'm sorry, I forgot myself. It's not... It is a private copy.
But for me, it would have been a very different book.
But for you, it would have been a longer one.
You know, then, that I killed him.
Oh, Doctor. If you acknowledge that, if you've confessed it to yourself, if you realize what you've done, then there is forgiveness. I trusted in your strength instinctively at first, then I thought I'd mistaken callousness for strength. Oh, can you blame me? But if it was really strength, if it was only such a mistake as we all make sometimes, it will make me so happy to be friends with you again.
I tell you, I made no mistake. I killed Blenkinsop. Was there any mistake there?
He recovered. Oh, don't be foolishly proud, Doctor. Confess to a failure and save our friendship. Remember, Sir Ralph gave Louis your medicine and it made him worse.
I cannot be your friend under false pretenses. Something's got me by the throat. The truth must come out. I used that medicine myself on Blenkinsop. It did not make him worse. It is a dangerous medicine. It cured Blenkinsop. It killed Louis Dubedat. When I handle it, it cures. When another man handles it, it kills sometimes.
Then why did you let Sir Ralph give it to Louis?
I'm going to tell you. I did it because I was in love with you.
You? An elderly man?
Dubedat, thou art revenged. I never thought of that. I suppose I appear to you a ridiculous old fogey.
But surely, I did not mean to offend you indeed, but you must be at least 20 years older than I am.
Yes, quite. More, perhaps. In 20 years, you will realize how little difference that makes.
But even so, how could you think that I, his wife, could ever think of you?
Yes, I quite understand. You needn't rub it in.
But you... Oh, it's only dawning on me now. I was so surprised at first. Do you dare to tell me that it was to gratify a miserable jealousy that you deliberately... Oh, you murdered him!
I think I did. It really comes to that. Thou shalt not kill, yet needst not strive officiously to keep alive. I suppose... Yes. I killed him.
And you tell me that? To my face? Callously? You are not afraid?
I am a doctor. I have nothing to fear. It's not an indictable offence to call in BB. Perhaps it ought to be, but it isn't.
I did not mean that. I meant afraid of my taking the law into my own hands and killing you.
I'm so hopelessly idiotic about you, I shouldn't mind it a bit. You'd always remember me if you did that.
I shall remember you, always, as a little man who tried to kill a great one.
Pardon me, I succeeded.
No. Doctors think they hold the keys of life and death, but it is not their will that is fulfilled. I don't believe you made any difference at all.
Perhaps not. But I intended to.
And you tried to destroy that wonderful and beautiful life, merely because you grudged him a woman whom you could never have expected to care for you?
Who kissed my hand, who believed in me, who told me her friendship lasted until death.
And whom you were betraying?
No, whom I was saving.
Pray, Doctor, from what?
From making a terrible discovery, from having your life laid waste.
How?
No matter. I have saved you. I am the best friend you've ever had.
Oh.
You are happy, you are well. His work is an imperishable joy and pride for you.
And you think that's your doing? Oh, Doctor. Dr. Sir Patrick is right. You do think you're a little god. How can you be so silly? You did not paint these pictures that are my imperishable joy and pride. You did not speak the words that will always be heavenly music in my ears. I listen to them now. Whenever I'm tired or sad, that's why I'm always happy.
Yes, now that he is dead. Were you always happy when he was alive?
Oh, you are cruel. Cruel. When he was alive, I did not know the greatness of my blessing. I worried meanly about little things. I was unkind to him. I was unworthy of him. Oh, don't insult me. Don't blaspheme. Oh, my king of men.
King of men? Oh, this is too monstrous. It's too grotesque. We cruel doctors kept the secret from you faithfully enough, but it's like all secrets, it will not keep itself. The buried truth germinates and breaks through to the light.
What truth?
What truth? Why, that Louis Dubidat, king of men, was the most entire and perfect scoundrel, the most miraculously mean rascal, the most callously selfish blackguard that ever made a wife miserable.
He made his wife the happiest woman in the world, Doctor.
No, by all that's true on earth, he made his widow the happiest woman in the world, but it was I who made her a widow, and her happiness is my justification. And my reward. Now you know what I did and what I thought of him. Be as angry with me as you like. At least you know me as I really... And if you ever come to care for an elderly man, you will know what you are caring for.
I'm not angry with you anymore, Sir Colenso. I know quite well that you did not like Louis, but it's not your fault. You don't understand. That is all. You never could have believed in him. It's like you're not believing in my religion. It's a kind of sixth sense that you've not got. And don't think you've shocked me so dreadfully. I know quite well what you mean by his selfishness. He sacrificed everything for his art. In a certain sense, he even had to sacrifice everybody.
Everybody except himself. By holding that back, he lost the right to sacrifice you and gave me the right to sacrifice him, which I did.
He was one of the men that know what women know. That self-sacrifice is vain and cowardly.
Yes, when the sacrifice is rejected and thrown away, not when it becomes the food of Godhead.
Oh, well, I don't understand that. And I can't argue with you. You are clever enough to puzzle me, but not to shake me. You are so utterly, so wildly wrong, so incapable of appreciating Louis.
Oh, I've marked 5 pictures as sold to me.
Oh, they will not be sold to you. Louis's creditors insisted on selling them, but this is my birthday, and they were all bought in for me this morning, by my husband.
By whom?
By my husband.
What husband? Whose husband? Which husband? Whom? How? What, do you mean to say that you have married again?
Do you forget that Louis disliked widows? And that people who've married happily once always marry again?
Then I have committed a purely disinterested murder.
Just got the first batch of catalogues in time. The doors are open.
So glad you like the pictures, Sir Colenso. Good morning.
Good morning.
In the Almeida Theatre production of The Doctor's Dilemma by Bernard Shaw, the cast was as follows. Red Penny and the Newspaper Man were played by Lawrence Mitchell. Emmy was played by Patsy Byrne. Sir Colenso Ridgeon by Ian McDiarmid. Leo Schutzmacher, Toby Salomon. Sir Patrick Cullen, Bernard Horsfall. And Cutler Walpole by Martin Jarvis. Sir Rafe Bloomfield Bonington was played by Tony Britton. Dr. Blenkinsop by Robert Demager. Jennifer Dubedat, Victoria Hamilton. Louis Dubedat, James Callis. Minnie Tinwell, Harriet Cater. And A Waiter and Mr. Danby by Simon Scott. The music was composed by Julian Phillips.